Hello there, Juranish Whiskey Lore, and time for another Matchup Monday. And today, doing a tasting of two Bruichladdich whiskeys. We're doing a tasting of Bruichladdich Islay Barley. Now, this is a 2011 expression. There are newer expressions out there, but this is the one I have, and I still have plenty in the bottle, so I'm going to go in and do a tasting on this. Islay Barley, meaning all the barley for this, came from Islay. Doesn't mean it was malted at Islay. They actually don't have a malting floor. They are working on one, but they ship this all off to mainland Scotland. It gets malted, then sent back. But the idea here being that we're tasting the barley from several farms that get listed on the front. Cool, Rockside Island, Mullindree, Starch Mill, and Currick, I guess, would be it. And so these are all island farms. And so this gives us an opportunity to taste what the barley tastes like that comes from there. I'm putting it up against the classic Laddie, which is a very unique looking bottle and one that you will find in just about every store that sells any manner of scotch. And so this is kind of comparing one that is more of a special release that's going to cost you around $70 to $80 a bottle versus one that's going to cost you between $50 and $60 a bottle. So they're both 50% ABV. I read a review that said that they are 100 proof. I think it's time to toss the term proof out when we're talking about Scotch whiskeys. You can do it, but the English had a different system for proofing. So it's not really caught on with what they're going to proof these whiskeys at now in terms of putting that information on the label. It's not really necessary. It's redundant. Really, the proofing system was brought about because of rudimentary tools that made it hard for you to really figure out what the actual percentage of alcohol was. And so they used this proofing number, and then that just kind of went away. I've actually kind of moved away from even using the term proof anymore. From time to time I do on American whiskeys, but if I do, it's usually because I've just forgotten or gotten lazy or whatever it may be. This way we can tell the amount of alcohol from one country to another with one basic style of measurement. Okay, so I'm going to do a tasting on these. These have different aging processes. As I've read, both of them are around 6-year whiskeys. The barley for this one actually comes from Inverness or around that area. And so it's going to have a different kind of a flavor to it. It's the same barley that they use for Port Charlotte, heavily peated. And then this, of course, like I say, comes from the different Islay farms. And other than that, it's kind of what barrels are they using to do the aging in these. And both of them use a variety of barrels. The 2011 uses fortified wine casks, which are basically wine that has been blended with grape neutral spirits. There's Austrian sweet wine in there, Sauterne casks that they're using for it, but all of them start out in ex-bourbon barrels. So let's start. Actually, I'm going to start with the classic Laddie on this one. And as I say, this is one that you will find pretty easily. Nice vanilla on the nose on this. I get a lot of citrus out of this whiskey. So your vanilla is probably coming mostly from the barrel, the initial run in the bourbon barrel. I get a hint of woodshop in here. If you've had woodshop class, you know what I'm talking about. A little honey note in there. And maybe a hint of brininess in there, just a little bit. Before I sip it, I'm going to come over here and nose this one. Ooh, wow. Same ABV, but much stronger on the nose. And this is giving me some funkier notes. It actually has a very grassy kind of a smell to it. The citrus is there. Floral vanilla does appear. Not a lot coming out of the different styles of casks. That citrus orange, but it does burn the nostrils just a little bit more than the other. I want to say there's some kind of almost a metallic note to this, and it's not a negative note. It's just, I don't know. I get some hint of automobile. What is it about that? Not a leather note. Interesting note. And maybe a little bit of that barley influence coming through there as well. All right, back to this one for a taste. Much lighter on the nose, much lighter. Very subtle, in fact, almost too subtle. Nice on the palate, though. It's got some decent body to it. It's not a heavy whiskey. I tend to get some of that orchard fruit coming through with orange peel coming through on top of that. There is a cinnamon peppery note. And then as we get into the finish, I get some more of the malt characteristics coming out of this. And maybe a hint of a dark chocolate, but like just a hint. But that citrus rind continues to just lay there on the palate. So it's a drier whiskey than some people might be used to. But it's not an aggressive whiskey. But it's not, what I would call a overly light whiskey either. It definitely has enough body to it, and thanks to the 50% ABV, that probably helps it out as well. But yeah, on the palate, one more run at it. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a toffee note that comes through, but it's definitely dominated by the citrus notes and by that cinnamon / gingery note that leaves a lot of heat on the palate. All right, let's go over to this one. And definitely a lot of rind on the finish. Definitely a lot of rind on the finish. Okay, yeah, this is very earthy and grassy. A hint of char in here as well. Very dry on the nose. There are no sweet characteristics at all that I'm pulling off this nose. Maybe way in the background, a little vanilla, but I mean, it's very floral, and it fits in with the earthiness. Much drier on the palate. Much drier on the palate. Citrus and char. Maybe a little almond in there. It's sour, actually. I get kind of like a yogurt, like a plain yogurt kind of a flavor there. And then that char just lays heavy on the palate at the end. Little biscuity, and maybe some of that rind is left over from my sip of the classic Laddie. Very dry. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's too dry. It's very aggressive in terms of its flavor. If you like dry, if you're looking for a lot more of a overall darker experience, it's got the citrus, It's got a little seaside character. It's got a little dark chocolate in it. But it is, I mean, it's just very, very dark. And the earthiness and a little bit of that brininess lays on the palate as well. So very different styles here. And I honestly, when I tasted these, or when I picked these two to go off against each other today, I sort of anticipated that I was going to really dive into the Islay Barley and be in love with it. But honestly, between these two, I think if I were going to sit down, relax, and enjoy a glass of Bruichladdich, and these were my two choices, I probably lean towards the classic Laddie, just because it tastes a little more refined to me without being too refined or too watered down, that sort of thing. So that's my choice today. Have you had these two? What do you think? Do you think we should give up on the word proof? Does it matter anymore? Can we just go with ABV? Love to hear your thoughts on that. Leave your comments below, and subscribe if you'd like to watch more of these down the road. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, cheers and Slainte. Dry. Lemon. Yeah, I'm getting lemon and a lot of char. A lot of char on that.